Hey, I'm Neil, and this is A Cup of Hope, the show where I drink a cup of coffee and talk to people about some of the messy and difficult areas of life, areas where all of us need some more hope. Let's do it. You're tired of bad news, aren't you? I hear you. I am so done with hearing about viruses and second waves and third waves and 27th waves and vaccines and oh no, there's not a vaccine, or elections or racism or whatever the ticker has to say on that particular day. Tonight we're not going to have any bad news. It's all focused on the good and the things that God is doing around the world through World Hope International and through our director, her leadership, Tanya Nace. She's joining me tonight. This is going to be a great talk. So here we go. Hey, Tanya. It's nice to have you with us tonight.
Good to be here.
We'll blame that little pause on technology or on the fact that you were waiting for me to finish a sentence.
It's starting so well, right?
Start with a bang. Everybody, This is my friend Tanya Nace. Tanya is the director of World Hope Canada, which is one of many arms of World Hope International. So we're going to dive into a conversation tonight about what she does, who she is, what World Hope does, and some of the good news and the hope that they're bringing around the world. Because I think it's just time for some good news. My goodness. So Tanya, tell us, for those of us who wonder, who's that girl with the two white things sticking out of her ears? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Tanya. If you guys haven't met me, I live on PEI. I was actually born and raised here and did a whole circle back to the island over the last few years. So I guess a quick snapshot of me would be, I love the world, I love Jesus, and I love connecting those two things together, whatever way that looks. So I spent about 11 years in the US working for nonprofits down there. Loved all my time down there, but I was really wanting to come back to Canada and then ended up back up here, which is really cool. So it's kind of just a little bit about me. And I have a husband, his name is Jonathan, and two little boys, Chandler and Zayden. And we're here on PEI right now.
Cool. Really important question.
Yeah.
I saw you drinking a cup of something earlier.
Yes.
What is it?
This is lavender buttercream David's tea.
Ooh, you were snobbier than I thought.
I can't drink coffee much because I get so hyper, and you would kick me off this call and never speak to me again. So this is non-caffeinated tea. So this is how I can keep interest in my life without coffee. So
everybody, this is the non-caffeinated version of Tanya Nace you're about to get. So
it's true. Reg Thomas says I'm naturally caffeinated. So that's I'm moving forward with that term.
I think you might be. I, on the other hand, am not. I don't think I rely on it to push me, but I just drink it for the pure joy. I call this podcast thing Cup of Hope.
Oh, I love that.
At my daughter's work, I saw this cup one day at the Guardian here in town. And I said, I need you to buy that for me because it's what I want to offer people on these Thursday nights. So anyway, thanks for being part of it. And I think that people are just going to love hearing from you about what you do, why you do it, and all that kind of good stuff. So maybe let's back up a little bit. You said a little bit about what you did before World Hope Canada. How did it come about that you became the executive director of World Hope Canada?
Yeah, so
important.
I mean, the answer is such an easy answer. I think we just say God and leave it there, but that's not as fun probably just to stop at the story. But was working down in the States with a nonprofit. I was recruiting missionaries all over the world, and my team was doing that. I was actually overseeing both Canada and the US, a team that covered both countries, which was really cool. But we had two little babies. They were not even 1 and 2 at the time. So we were just really wanting to move back to Canada. So we'd always said we want to raise our kids in Canada if possible. We didn't like that was like a requirement, but we thought that'd be really cool if God ever opened that door. So just started inquiring into different opportunities. It kind of came to me. I didn't really come to the World Hope Canada opportunity. Some leaders that I knew just knew I was looking and knew that this job was open and said, hey, you should, apply for it. Is kind of how it happened. So we moved about 3 years ago. We moved back to Canada. We came in on like one of the coldest days ever recorded in the history of Canada. It was like literally the day after Christmas. And the boys had never been in winter before, and they were shocked, what's going on. And we're like, woohoo, because we love winter. We love snow. We love everything related to winter. And they were not happy, but they're good Canadians now and they're having fun.
Man, you lived where again before? Was it Indiana?
I lived in Indiana and in Tennessee, and then in Ottawa right before this, and now PEI.
Right. Yeah, so a little different being Tennessee and Indiana, coming to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have been overwhelming. I didn't realize that people could apply for jobs like that. I thought they got kind of headhunted. I thought people went after you and just found you.
Well, now that I look back on it, there might have been some of that going on, but there was an opening and I was encouraged to apply, which I did do, but I guess people knew about it, the opening, and then knew me as well. So I guess that's a little bit of a connection point.
Where did your heart for this kind of stuff begin?
Yeah. So anyone who knows me knows that I have a heart for the world and for people who are vulnerable. And I've kind of always lived that way ever since I was young. I've kind of been that kind of a person, but I never really fit into any of the typical jobs related to that. Like I'm not really I'm not a counselor. Like you would not want to come to me for counseling. I'm like a coach, like get over it, you can do it kind of person, not like a tell me how you're feeling, So all of those types of, positions or things to do around the world related to connecting with people who are hurting or who are vulnerable requires like quite a lot of the gifting of like counselor or empathy, that kind of a thing. And I have just always had a passion to see other people thrive in the areas that they're gifted in. And then at the same time had a deep love for like administration and making things work smoothly and connecting with people. So I think those two things just came together really well for this job, but also for my previous positions that I've worked in. And I've been able to kind of ignite a passion under people to go be a part of what God's doing around the world. And I'm not necessarily the one going. No, I love going when I'm able to, for sure. But I get just as excited to watch someone else be a part of something internationally or an international leader, make a difference or see good things happen in the area of helping vulnerable people. And it just makes me so excited. So I think it makes me a good fit for this job in that I'm helping to push other people into this impact zone around the world, but also in their personal lives and their personal communities too. So I'm kind of uniquely suited that way. And I'm a super high extrovert. So I love hanging out with people. So that helps me be able to kind of keep that moving.
I will attest to that.
Exactly. I talk forever.
You're good at what you do. So tell us then, in all the things that you do, what does a day look like for you, or what does a week look like for you?
Yeah. So every day is different. I know a lot of people say that, and as a pastor, I'm sure you have that same thing. But I wake up, I help get my son off to school. He's in grade 1. And then I have a toddler that stays home with my husband. He looks after him at home every day. So we get him off to school. I grab my tea and I go down to the basement. Welcome to COVID. Woohoo! This is the life we're living. And literally from my basement here, I connect with the whole world throughout the day, which means my days are sometimes longer. So a lot of times I'll be connecting with the executive director, the CEO in Australia for World Hope. Her and I have meetings quite often. So in the evenings, I'm talking to her. It's the morning for the next day with her, right? Or talking to our leaders in Cambodia or Sierra Leone or Bosnia. I just got off of a phone call with Bosnia this morning, connecting with leaders around Canada, with donors, with my team who are kind of all over, located all over the place. So it's kind of all in one spot thanks to the internet, which is my life. So I pretty much stand here all day and connect and just run and move and help and tweak and get things moving from here. So that's kind of what my week looks like. But again, it's all over the place. Normally without COVID, I would be on the road about 60 or 70% of the time. and then back here in the office for a week or so, and then back out. And that would be connecting with donors or churches or people who are learning about our projects or foundations or whoever it is in Canada that I'm connecting with probably 1 or 2 international trips a year to just go check out the projects. So it kind of varies depending on the season of time. If you find me on Facebook, which you can put the link to the World Hope Canada Facebook page, we're launching November 1st in the comments here. But if you follow me there, you'll see my face there. I'm on live all the time. Get ready to push that forward on November 1st. There's gonna be lots of fun happening there as well. And then I spend time on my personal Facebook page, Push Toward Impact as well, just kind of trying to push people outside of their comfort zone. So it's a variety. It just kind of depends on the day and what's happening.
What places around the world have you seen?
Oh my goodness, I've been to a lot of countries. I can't even name them all off right now. But one of my favorite countries I've ever been to was Turkey. I love Turkey. And I love how like there Europe and the Middle East kind of like hit each other. There's like this connection points. There's all these mixture of cultures from 2 different, places in the world. And it's just a really cool, really cool experience. So that's one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. Has been to Turkey. I also got lost at sea there. So that's another story for another time, but we can, that's a long story. We'll share that one another time. I've also been like in a lot of places in Asia. I really like Asia. So I've been to a lot of places in China, Indonesia, Cambodia. I just really enjoy that culture. We spent 5 months living in New Zealand whenever we first got married, and my heart is still there. I love tons of friends there and just really loved our experience there. And then I've been throughout different places of the Middle East and over to Eastern Europe quite a bit as well. So I kind of have been all over the place. Yeah. I just love all the places, but I think favorite location has been Turkey. I got to take my husband back there sometime. I told him, you're coming with me to Turkey sometime. It's such a great country. So That's my dream, on my dream list.
Cool. Probably the first question on a lot of our minds is how do you juggle so many things in your life?
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to have good boundaries, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it at all. It's like a consistent work in progress. And it's just this, and you know me, Neil, we've talked about this before, but creating boundaries in some way to keep yourself sane on top of, being super effective and impactful in your position and in the ministry that you're in. So I have like some pretty specific things in my life that I keep moving forward to help me stay effective. And again, none of these are perfection, but they're a work in progress. So one would be I have an accountability partner. So her and I talk often. We text all the time, but we talk often. And she keeps me accountable to different things in my life. So that's been really helpful. Jonathan and I have date nights that we do, and they're not like scheduled, but they're on a consistent basis. We try to get those in to make sure that we're spending time with each other. I take time off if I'm traveling a lot to just spend time with my kids. So sometimes I'll just pull my kid out of school and be like, hi, we're hanging out together today. You haven't seen me for 3 weeks. I don't care if you have school, we're going to hang out. So I'll do that kind of a thing just to stay in touch with them and make sure I have a good relationship with them. Went mountain biking with my oldest son this weekend, which was fun. Nice. My legs were hurting really bad at the end of it. And he's like 5 and he was having a great time. Like everything was great. So that was good. And then also like exercise. So I love walking. I love running. Hiking, and just making time for that. So like right now I'm walking 5K every day. I might take 1 day off a week, but that's kind of a way for me to just kind of get out of my own world. I'm hardest on myself. So just kind of spend some time by myself in my own head and in quiet. So that's been really good for me as well. So those things all together still make it hard, to keep things balanced. But I think it's this consistent, like this close group of people who I have in my life, including my husband, my friends, saying like, are you being healthy? Are you doing well? Like getting them to ask me those questions very directly is important to me. But again, every single day, it's like this rhythm of trying to make sure you're in a good place and not working too much or not working. Well, no, I always work. I usually work too much. I err on the side of workaholic. So I have to make sure I protect that and try to ensure that I'm being healthy.
Right. What do you enjoy the most? What excites you the most about your life and your work?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been talking about a lot has been our water projects around the world, and Canadian churches have been giving left and right like crazy for water. So it's been so fun. We've drilled like a dozen wells in Sierra Leone and Liberia over the last year. And these wells are in places where like no one else can go. So we like drive through the middle of nowhere. Sometimes it takes up to 3 or 4 days to get to where we have to get to. We set up our equipment. We do a geo study to make sure like the water is going to actually be hit. We drill the deep borehole well, and then we actually train a village committee to actually look after the well, to make sure like that it's lubed up and that it's, you know, actually looked after so it doesn't break. And they have to have a plan to be able to replace the parts if it does break, so they actually continually to have water. And sometimes organizations don't do that, so the well will break and then the water is gone for good, kind of thing. Right. So that's been really fun. We also have a tapped well program called Tap Effect in Cambodia, and we just hooked up our first segment or section of that. So it's a tapped water that's chlorinated and like treated, and it goes into the thatched roof homes of people. And we have donors who are helping to make the hookups happen. But people pay a little bit of money per liter, you know, of what they use. So it's a little bit of a social enterprise, but it's an appropriate amount for that location. So that's been really cool to watch that come off the ground. Just a few months ago, we were putting that in, and they were going through a schoolyard to hook the tapped water up. And there was a landmine they found that was not exploded. So it was right under where the kids were playing for like all these years. So we had a team come in and look after that, safely move that out, and then continue putting the tapped water in for the school. So that was really, really cool to be a part of something like that. During COVID, we were drilling in Liberia, and what happened was the government appropriately shut down travel. So our teams couldn't go out into the villages to be able to do the drilled water. They were kind of stuck in the city, and they had like a curfew on when they could come and when they could leave, which again makes perfect sense for the COVID restrictions. So we had multiple wells we wanted to drill, and they said, what are we going to do? And I love how creative our teams are on the ground. They said, you know what, we were approached by leaders in the city, and there are wells that are not World Hope wells, but there are wells that have been drilled throughout the city. Many in places where there's a huge need for clean water, especially during COVID, to wash your hands and make sure that things are clean. Could we rehabilitate the wells and like make them work again, because they weren't working? So we've rehabilitated dozens of wells in Liberia since COVID hit. Even though we couldn't leave the city, we just stayed right there where we were and continued to provide clean water. So I love our clean water projects, and I could talk about them forever, which is fun. Another project that's really cool, but that's really tough is in the Philippines. It's the online sexual exploitation of children. And it's a project where we help children who've been trafficked online, and that would be live stream abuse that people pay for. So helping children come out of that and do kind of the healing process through that. Wow. So that's a newer project in the last few years we've been doing in the Philippines, and just really seeing some neat results of healing in families through that. And then we have a recovery center in Sierra Leone for trafficked victims. And we've had quite a lot of victims come through. It's been quite full. And especially with COVID, trafficking has gone up. Abuse has gotten worse during this season, as we all know, even in our own communities. So that's been a neat project to be a part of as well. And then I just got off the phone with Bosnia this morning. They're doing a ton of really cool things there. Again, lockdowns are happening all across the place, but we have staff who are from the local area or live in that local area, and this is just normal life for them. So all of our projects have continued, and we've done even more than expected because we're living in that local area, able to serve vulnerable people there. And they're just doing a lot of cool things there as well. So those are just a few of the many projects that we're doing, but all of those make me excited.
Wow. We'll talk a little more about Bosnia in a couple of minutes here, but all of it is such important work, and like to listen to you describe it, some of it is very exciting, and like, oh, this is so cool. We get to, like, people who don't have clean water, get clean water to drink and to cook with and to bathe and that kind of stuff, and community health goes way up. But some of it's very heavy and very dark. Like, how do you guys do that? And how do you deal with that stuff day in, day out? And your staff right on the field, working with these vulnerable people, how do they not get just snowed under by the sheer darkness of it?
Yeah. We just published a blog, and again, we can link it to this video if you want to, about the online sexual exploitation of children project that we have in the Philippines. And it was written by one of our therapists who helps to run the program there. And we have like a director of anti-trafficking who kind of runs all the projects around the world. And her job is not just to run the projects, but to make sure the staff are healthy and like that they're getting the care that they need. So it would be very similar to here in Canada, maybe medical staff or mental health staff who are working in really, really hard and dark places. They have kind of things in place for self-care, but also professional training on how to make sure that you're not taking that on. So not to say it's not hard, it is hard, but everyone who works in our projects are certified, trained, their education is in this area. This is their background. They're like a specialist in this field. So I've had people come up to me before and say like, I want to go, help people who've been trafficked. And I'm like, awesome. What's your background? And they're like, I'm just gonna make something up, I have a degree in shoveling snow or whatever. And I'm like, that's awesome that you have that passion, but you actually need education and experience to move into that world. You can't just have a passion for something and then just jump into it and make it through alive. You have to have that background, that experience, that education specialty area. So we're very careful to find people who have that and then also work alongside them to make sure that they stay well. And by saying that, in no way am I saying it's super simple and easy, right? This is intense stuff that's complicated, but it's still important that we're caring for the people involved as well as those that we're serving. And that would be all of our projects around the world. Like all of this stuff is not easy. It's all tough, and just supporting each other and being encouraging and knowing that we're all in this together makes a huge difference in how we work together.
Yeah. I was talking with a friend a couple weeks ago, I guess, and probably not the first time that's come up, but we were talking about how like everyone is stuck here these days in front of a TV or a computer, or not everyone, but so many. Yeah. And information just flows like that. And whether it's true or false, it doesn't matter either. Right? There's a lot of weird stuff floating around out there, but we were talking about the idea that like even 25 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and long before that, people knew about and cared about the things that were happening within a few kilometers of their home.
Right.
And now we almost didn't know, humans almost didn't know what was happening in the southern hemisphere or the eastern hemisphere or the western hemisphere. Now, with that immediate access, we were just discussing the idea, like, can we really care? Like you said it, I've got a heart for the world.
Right.
Can we really have a heart that takes in all this information and doesn't get overwhelmed and doesn't get bitter or jaded or just give up? That's a big question. Maybe I'll try and make it just for you. What do you do? Because there must be days that are overwhelming and discouraging for you. Mm-hmm. What do you do on those days? How do you care about the whole world?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think going back to like us, digesting information, I think being smart about that is important. So not just like endlessly scrolling, like that's not healthy in any way, whether it's on social media or the news. Even though I work globally, I try to limit my access to the news as much as I can. So I do a quick scroll every day, like what's happening globally. I keep an eye on what's happening with World Hope, but I try not to dive too deep into all of the things happening in the entire world, because we have it at our fingertips, right? Like it's available to us right there. Yeah. And it's unhealthy if you spend all of your time doing that. So when people talk to me, and you've experienced this, Neil, I'll quickly ask the question, like, what is on your heart? Or like, what type of country or type of ministry or type of project is kind of on the heart of your congregation or the heart of people who you talk to? And I like to find a starting point for where to share information instead of just like blasting, all the information all over the place. That's overwhelming for anybody, Yeah. So really kind of knowing what that is. For me personally, I mean, I seem so happy and excited all the time, and I am most of the time, but like there are tough days, there are days where I am not happy. I am not excited. I am grieving, or I am, sad about something, or I'm frustrated, or I'm angry, all healthy emotions to have as long as you have a good place to process that. Mm-hmm. And having places in our lives, all of us, where we can process hard information, places that are trustworthy or places that are safe, I think are really important.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, there are some tough days. There are tough days when you hear of the needs around the world that never end, and I always challenge people, you need to be doing some type of action, but be focused a little bit, like don't feel like you have to act on all of the things all of the time, but just kind of listen to what God might be saying to your heart. And he might kind of, pique your interest in some area, or maybe bring something up over and over again. And you're like, oh, I'm getting the message, God, or joining in something that your local church is doing so you can do it as a body. But find a way to focus that and then dive deep into something like that. And I think that's more healthy than saying, I got to do all of the things all of the time. Because some of our hearts, especially those of us who are high mercy or high empathy type people, it can ruin you. Like literally it can just like deplete you emotionally if you're not able to create these like square boxes of places where you can have action happening. But inaction, I think, makes it worse. So having some type of action, whether it be in your local community or learning or giving or helping out in some way, or actually in your local community doing something like specifically like physically or whatever it is, there needs to be a way to act upon the need. But to focus the need first, I think, is important, and then the action can come after that.
That's good. That's very practical. Because there's so many organizations and causes and people, and not just globally. Some of them they're right here in our neighborhood and in our churches and all that kind of stuff. And that's wonderful that they're there.
Yes.
It's just trying to my struggle has always been, how do I not lose my life to save someone else's? It's the life preserver sort of mentality. How do I throw that line to somebody and not get taken down in the process? Because my heart is for their good, and my heart is for their well-being and their safety, or their flourishing or whatever. So yeah, that's really good. Thanks for the good words on that. I heard somebody say, I think it was last week, a podcast I was listening to, that action is the antidote to fear.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's that simple? Like with everything that's floating around the news and promoting, basically telling people there's lots of things to be afraid of today.
Yeah.
Is action the answer, or is it a little more complicated than that?
Yeah, I mean, like fear is connected to lies a lot of time, right? And I'm not talking about COVID. I mean, in general, in our personal lives, if we get scared of things, there's often a lie connected to that. So being able to tackle your fear with truth, I think, is helpful, and being able to say, like, I have this fear, but here's the truth, and I need to act upon the truth. As a leader, I spend a lot of time reminding myself of the truth, and that's a lot of times going back to scripture and saying, like, this is true, this is from God, this is a promise he has for me, whether that's personally or professionally, saying, like, this is the truth in a situation, I need to ethically act upon that truth. I think that's really important, rather than buying into the fear that you like to try to, you hear from the world all the time. You hear fears all the time from the world. So the action really is the practical movement forward of truth.
Right.
So when you have truth and you know what that is, and you know what is true and right versus what is wrong and fearful, you can then take action upon that. And I think you have confidence in that action. But I also think that the action looks different for everybody. So let's just take something really small and practical. So like, I am scared to go outside because COVID might get me in my yard. So I know truthfully that that's not true, because there is no one who has COVID in my yard. And COVID's not going to float over from, 18,000 miles away and come to my yard. So I can feel confident that I can take action to go outside, spend some time outside in my yard, right? Like, that's a small little personal example. But then like a bigger example might be, I'm really passionate about education in places where there is no education. So I am excited about that, but I don't know what to do about that. Fear is saying, well, you'll never make a difference because there's people all over the world who aren't educated. Like, how are you ever going to make a difference with that? Like, there's just too much. Like, you'll never, ever make a difference. You'll never make a dent. Like, good luck even finding that out. Truth would be, I'm going to start to research what that means and what specifically connects to me as a person. So do I have a specialty area in one of these areas of education that I'm really attracted to, or something that kind of, catches my vision or makes my heart skip a beat a little bit? Let me learn more about that, and then start to dig in and learn and get more information. Then you have truth related to education. Instead of saying you'll never do anything, the answer might be, actually, you can do something. There's this specific thing that matches you as you learned about it, and then you can take action upon that. But the action would never happen if you didn't actually take the step of learning, and that's action, right? So that action forward in truth, I think, makes a big difference. And anyone you talk to who makes a big difference in their world, I mean, their personal life or in their community or in the whole world globally, they have always taken action in some way, shape, or form and just moved in that direction, and as they got more information, as God led them, they kept making a difference, and it just kept moving, forward. But I always say God can't help steer a boat that's not moving. Like, if you're still tethered to the dock, you're never going to go anywhere. So you got to move somewhere and kind of see what that's going to look like. So I do think that's a true statement that your friend said about, inaction is connected to fear and action is connected to truth, in my opinion. And I think that's really important as well.
That's a good part B to that statement. Action is connected to truth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we can't take it anywhere if we don't act.
That's right.
I mean, what good is truth sitting parked at the dock, like you said? Yeah. We've got some good news to share with specifically people from our church, Woodstock Wesleyan Church in Woodstock, NB. Not sure where everybody is watching from tonight, or what if they're part of another church or they don't go to any church. It's all wonderful if you're with us tonight. But we have some good news for people that are part of Woodstock Wesleyan, and it comes directly from the desk of Tanya Nace. So I want to tell us a little bit about a project that we are going to start partnering with you guys on.
Yeah, totally.
We're going to take action on.
Take some action. We're going to move forward. Yes. So yeah, I've been talking with Neil, and he's been talking with Pastor Dale, and we're really excited that World Hope Bosnia is going to be the next location you guys are going to partner with in a very specific way. So I thought I could take a few minutes and share a little bit about what that looks like and what we're doing in Bosnia to help people who are vulnerable in that community. So we've been there for close to 18, 19 years, and we're a part of a community that's quite depressed. So in this location, there's a lot of people leaving for other jobs. They're leaving the rural area to the bigger cities, to places where there's more opportunity. But in this area is this incredible connection of community where it's safe for kids to run around. It's this very nice connected community, but it feels very depressed in that people are feeling the hope is gone. Like, where is the hope? And a lot of the resources are gone as well for children especially. So we're helping on multiple levels children in this area of Bosnia, and we're doing it through some World Hope projects. So one of the things that we love to do is we love to help local community groups. And there's a technical high school there. You don't have to go to high school there. You have to get recruited into a high school. So the high schools have to find people who want to come to high school and convince them to come in. And there's a technical high school there that is doing an amazing job. So they teach people how to become cooks or chefs so they can work in the tourist industry, or maybe work with plants and kind of participate in that area. Maybe they do automotive type things or computer technology, so they can move into jobs into an area where there aren't a lot of jobs available. So they're helping prepare high school students to stay in that community and to be a part of what jobs might be available. Cool. What they have is this class for special needs kids, and they're in high school, and they learn how to cook so they can be a part of cooking in restaurants whenever they graduate. And World Hope has come alongside this technical high school and said, hey, we'll help you out. We're going to provide a commercial grade oven so you can cook all your pastries in one batch instead of all day, putting them in this little oven. And then also we're going to provide meat because that's quite expensive in that area. And you guys can practice cooking. And out of that, they've created a soup kitchen. So special need high school kids are learning to cook. They're cooking food and then distributing it to the community, to families who don't have food. So just a really cool partnership, not only learning and empowering young people, but also partnering with the community where there's a need for food security. So that's a really cool project that we're doing there. We also have a resource center for children to come to learn. So we have teachers who are certified teachers. There's no other place like it in this region where they can bring their children and they can have certified teachers help with tutoring. So maybe with language or math or science or whatever area the kid's having trouble in, they can come and learn at World Hope. So just a wonderful place of hope to be able to say, we have these amazing resources for your kids. They can learn, because as we know, education helps move people forward in a community and in a country. We also have a speech therapist that works with World Hope, and she's the only one that we know of in that country, in the entire country of Bosnia, who's certified to work with special needs children and with a few specific types of certifications that she has that comes out of Canada and the US. And she helps children who maybe can't swallow, who can't eat, who can't chew, who can't talk, be able to do that. And we have people come from even other countries to come and see her and get assistance from her so that they can move forward. So it's, the medical system is not set up in such a way where those children would have resources to learn how to swallow or learn how to eat. And then their future is not very positive if they're not able to do that, as you can imagine. So that's a really cool program that I really like as well. We also run like adventure camps and English camps in the summer to connect with kids. People in that community know that we love Jesus, that we're there because, you know, God has brought us there and we want to bring hope to that town. And we love doing things with local businesses as well, giving small grants for them to work together and see kind of that community diversity and connection happen, where they can connect multiple groups, do a project together, and watch that community development grow, where they're working together to better their community and not separately. So we do that quite a lot as well. So that's the project you guys are going to jump in on. You guys might know Nathan and Sarah Moss. You've probably seen them come by your church. You guys support them, and they're going to be a part of the World Hope community and helping us in Bosnia as well once they get there. So we're really, really excited about that. Josh Carter went to Kingswood, and he's actually our leader there. He's the director of World Hope Bosnia, and he's going to be sharing updates with you guys, sending you videos, sending you cool reports on how you're really impacting the next generation of leaders in Bosnia, and a place where not a lot of people want to invest, because it's a place that doesn't seem like it's up and coming. It's a place that doesn't have all of the fancy stuff, but it's a place where we feel God saying, there are people here that you care about, that we care about, that I'm going to make a difference in their lives through you. And we just are really excited about what's going to happen there. Sure. So I have a video for you guys if you want to watch it. This is an intro video for World Hope Bosnia, just so you can see a few of the programs that we're doing.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, hey, I mean, that's super cool. We are excited to be part of it. So we can watch for um, video updates or blog posts and things like that that World Hope will send to us.
Yeah, I'll send them to you. But also, if you guys follow World Hope Canada's Facebook page, we'll be posting them on there as well. So again, we'll put the link in the comments below. But World Hope International Canada, if you look for that on Facebook, you like us, we're going to be launching our brand new page on November 1st with some fun, crazy stuff happening. So we'll be sharing tons of Bosnia updates on there as well. But yes, it'll be coming in both places, and you'll be able to see what's going on there.
Cool. All right. Somehow we bring this to a landing spot. I don't know. The stuff you shared has been awesome. Practical, but also encouraging. Again, my thought was there's so much bad news floating around out there these days, and so much negative stuff floating around. And I just wanted good news for people to hear tonight. And even just some of the stuff you've shared tonight has been really practical for how do we deal with the bad news. Because we can't just stick our heads in the sand. Well, I mean, we could, but I mean, if we stick our head in the sand, then our butt's in the air, right? Nobody wants to see that. So,
that's
true. What would you say to people to wrap up? What would you say to people who feel overwhelmed by it all and just need some bit of hope to grab onto tonight?
Yeah. So if you feel overwhelmed personally, I would just say you need to just take a break for a few weeks on a few things. So like stop reading the news for a few weeks, stop learning about all the terrible things that are happening around the world, and focus in on the good things that are in your life. I always say, I know hope, it's World Hope, and hope is a word I use a lot. I did before I came to World Hope, but finding some little glimmers of hope is really important, you know, and whether that be in your community or in your family or in your personal life, in your relationship with God, wherever you find those glimmers of hope, you need to like go and like really meditate on those and spend time with those if you're feeling just completely overwhelmed. And then when you come back from that overwhelmed place to where I still want to get involved in what's going on globally, I would say limit, you know, your digestion of global news, and find places where you know the news is reliable, but it's not meant or created to suck you in and make you feel terrible. So find places where you can learn about the world and learn about your country and learn about your community, and also see how you could potentially be involved. But again, don't feel pressure that you have to do all of the things. And like maybe Bosnia is that for those of you who attend Woodstock Wesleyan. You know, maybe you're going to say, okay, I'm going to learn about Bosnia then. I'm going to learn about the history. I want to learn about World Hope Bosnia. I'm going to talk to Neil about how I can get more information. Maybe that's a focus point for you, just to say, I want to be a part of something, but I can't do all of the things. Whatever it is, just limit it and take some action towards that. And I always say learning is the best first step as people move forward. So maybe those are a few practical tips for where we are right now in our current society and our current world, but just know that you have a ton of people who are with you. You have a community that wants to support you, and the Lord's here with us. The Lord gets this. He's not surprised by this. And I spend a lot of time listening to worship music whenever I'm overwhelmed. And I just turn on a few songs that just remind me of promises of God and who he is in my life and who he created me to be. And I try to spend time thinking about those things rather than what the world thinks I am or what the world wants me to be.
Awesome. World Hope Canada .ca or worldhope.ca.
Yep, worldhope.ca.
World Hope International Canada on Facebook. Anywhere
That's
else
right.
People need to find you guys and stay connected?
Well, if you think I'm too nerdy or nerdy enough to hang out with, come hang out with me on Push Toward Impact as well, which is my Facebook page, kind of my professional Facebook page. There's always some crazy stories of my weird life and back end stories that are happening on the backside of my life as well, which is fun. So you're welcome to join me there as well. But otherwise, yeah, you can catch us in all those three places.
Stories happening on the backside of Tanya Nace's life. Now, who would not be interested in that?
It's a little crazy. It's like behind the scenes stuff that people would never think happened. It's hilarious. So yeah, you're welcome to join me over there too if you want to.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground and lots of links here to share, but hopefully we've been sharing them as we've gone here, and we'll get as many of those to you. But Tanya, thanks a lot. This has been awesome.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with us tonight.
Totally. I look forward to seeing you guys in person sometime soon too.
Awesome. Take
Cool.
care.
Tanya, I'm so glad you came on. You gave us some great practical stuff for how do we handle a world that just seems to spill bad news into our lives every day and every second if we let it. I admire so much how you handle what you do, and you do it with grace, and you do it with an others mindset, and you just are willing to step into the challenges that God brings your way. And this has been so good. I hope that tonight's been uplifting for you. I hope that you guys at Woodstock Wesleyan are excited to be part of what God's doing in Bosnia, and the chance that we get to partner with them. What a great opportunity that is. And hey, if you're needing hope, one of the best ways that you can find hope is to be in community with good people. If you don't have a church that you call home, we would love for you, if you're local, to make Woodstock Wesleyan a new home for yourself. If you want to reach out, you can find us at the contact information on the screen. Send us an email or give us a call. I'd love to chat with you and help you find your way here. And of course, we believe that all hope ultimately comes from a relationship and from knowing Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. So, gratitude to all of you who have been watching Thursday Night Live. Gratitude to all my guests and the topics that we've covered, the personal stories that they have shared in their own journeys. And I'm looking forward to more. We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back with a little Dog Days of Winter. Is that a thing? Session starting February the 4th. So be watching for that. We'll be back, and it'll be another great round of chats with some fantastic people. Anyway, till then, I'd just like to say one more time, I hope that your cup of coffee is empty, but your cup of hope is full. Thanks, guys.